Okay. Hi guys, thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Tamar Arslanian. I'm a cat woman. I have 2 rescue cats myself. I have a blog called I Have Cats, Single in the City with Cats, and I'm the author of the book Shop Cats of New York. I'm excited to be here tonight. We already flipped to the next page. With the cat advocates, Sally Williams and Dr. Liz Bales, who I'm going to tell you a little bit about in a moment. Let's start off with Sally Williams. Sally is a cat behavior consultant, the owner of The Contented Cat, and the founder and director of the Feline Find Project. Sally's mission is to improve and enrich cats' lives through behavior modification, both feline and human, of course, and advocate for annual wellness checks. She's also the founder and director of the Brody Fund, and they're actually here today. I think group 335, Sally? Yeah. Whose mission is to offer financial assistance through grants to families in need who have pets diagnosed with cancer. She's a speaker and has been featured on PBS, Catty Corner podcast, the Radio Pet Lady, and featured in Catster, Bark, Cuffs, Catnip, and The Conscious Cat. I'm also very excited to introduce to you today Dr. Liz Bales. She's a veterinarian who's gained special interest in the unique behavior and wellness needs of cats, including feline behavior and environmental enrichment. Dr. Bales is a writer and speaker and featured expert in all things cat around the globe, including appearances on Fox and Friends, ABC News, and Cheddar News. She's the founder of Doc and Phoebe's Cake Company and the inventor of the indoor hunting feeder for cats. So if you please welcome Sally and Liz today. I'd like to start by asking Sally, if Sally, you could tell me a little bit about how the Feline Find Project came about. Let me just make sure everybody can hear me. Okay.
So I'll let you, it's up on the screen what the mission is, so you guys can kind of read what my goals are. But it came about because I'm both a cat behaviorist and the director of a nonprofit. And as the director of the nonprofit, at one point, we've now given 33 grants. But I think at the point where we were about 23 grants, we had only given 3 to cats. And I started doing research. Why is that? Why are we predominantly giving grants to dogs? Why have I only gotten, and it wasn't we were turning them down, we had only received 3 applications. So it occurred to me that maybe, people aren't getting their cats to the vet. They're not getting the diagnosis early enough and not finding it out. On the other side of things, as a behaviorist, one of the things I do before I go into an in-home consultation is I make a phone call. One of the first 3 questions is, when was the last time you've been to the vet with your cat? And a very large percentage of the time, they couldn't answer that question. Or they couldn't answer it. My next question would be, what is the name of your vet? Silence. So the 2 of those things discouraged me a little bit, but also motivated me to do some research. And what I found was alarming to me. And I thought, well, with my background as a behaviorist and the director of a nonprofit, why not, since I'm out at the conventions with my nonprofit, educate and talk and be an advocate so that we can get our cats to the vet and talk about the reasons why and why it's so important. So that's how the Feline Find Project came about.
Thanks, Sally. And Liz, so you're a veterinarian. So what was it that made you decide to become an inventor? Tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
So I've been a veterinarian for 18 years now, almost 19. It's getting to be a very long time. And what I found over the years was that in addition to all the medical things that we're going to talk about today, one of cats' biggest struggles is the cat parents' misunderstanding of their cat's signals and behavioral needs in the home. And so I spent much of my career studying those things. And what I found was we may know why those things are happening and have the solution for them, but you can't buy the thing in the store that you need to fix it. Oftentimes what we have to offer is a good arts and crafts project. And I think that good cat care should come from toilet paper tubes and Rubbermaid and that sort of thing. So I have spent the past almost 5 years now hopefully soon bringing other products designed in veterinary medicine to bring those solutions to the cat parent.
I have to make a comment. As a behaviorist, I have many clients that have the feeding system, and it's amazing. I highly recommend that you check out Doc and Phoebe's and look into this feeding system. I just have to say that.
Thank you very much.
Liz, I'm just going to go off script for a minute here. Does it work with both wet food and dry food?
So at the moment, what's on the market now is for dry food or freeze-dried kibble. Do you know Dr. Karen Becker from, so she's one of the veterinarians who, they do put a chunk-style wet food in there. I don't necessarily recommend that, but that people are doing that. It's a little gross.
It's a little messy,
it's a little messy.
Yeah. But you could do like a Stella and Chewy freeze-dried.
Stella and Chewy freeze, or Vital Essentials freeze-dried works great in there. Even just you can do the freeze-dried kibble or the freeze-dried chunks of just plain chicken meat, or even the minnows to make it really hard for them to come out. So it works for a variety of things. Stay tuned for the wet feeder coming soon.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, cool, thank you. Sally, when you were doing research, what were some of the statistics? You said, some of the things that people said to you that kind of made you scratch your head and realize there might be a need there, but what were some of the statistics that really jumped out on you as you started to do your research?
So I made this easy for you and narrowed down. There are tons of statistics that are alarming, but I thought that I would put the ones that, there's a couple that really stuck out. So the first one for me is that 50% of cats do not receive annual wellness checks. And one of the things that really got to me was that they're 50% less likely to have an annual wellness check than a dog. So why are dog owners doing a better job? Is it because the dogs are going outside, cats are inside? But that was a number that really jumped out at me, especially when you're comparing it, dogs and cats. The next one is, of the 83% cats that are taken to the vet in the first year of ownership, half do not return. So why is that? Is it that it was a stressful visit, that the car ride didn't go well, that the carrier wasn't right, that the vet visit itself wasn't pleasant for your cat? Was it the office, the layout, the dogs barking? Like, why is it that people aren't returning? That's a big number to me, that half of them, and after the first year. Some of it, I think too, and maybe Liz is different than some vets, I don't necessarily remember when I was younger at least, having a vet recommend that I come back, for an annual wellness check. I think that that's changing. I know now I get reminders. But so that was, one of the statistics. And then the last one, 58% of cat owners report their cats hate going to the veterinarian. So this is something I felt like that's a hurdle we can talk about, how we get past that. That's a number that, as a behaviorist, I can tackle that. I can come up with ways that, whether it's carrier or calming treats or things, I can give advice on how to make that more pleasant. And then this one really grabbed me. 38% report that just the thought of going to the vet is too stressful for you to take your cat. So how do we change our mindsets? And what can we do? And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but I just thought that was a remarkable number, that our stress is preventing us from taking our cats to the vet. That was something that really hit me.
All right, so let me ask you this. If my cat is healthy, and I'm a cat owner, and here Liz is telling me 50% of cats are going to the vet, 50% less than dogs. But what if I'm a cat owner and I'm like, nothing's wrong with my cat? I don't think anything's wrong with my cat seems fine. So why should I be taking my cat to an annual?
Yeah, it's a great question. And cats can look fine and be really sick. Cats have an evolutionary advantage to hiding their pain. So number one, you can have a sick cat and not even know. Number two, we really need to do those annual checkups to look at all the teeth, feel the belly, feel the lymph nodes, stuff that you guys, as a loving parent, don't have the technical skills to be able to do, so that we can assess how your cat is doing year over year. So we write in the medical record, what does your cat weigh? So next year if your cat's sick, or next month if your cat's sick, and you come in, we can say, oh my gosh, he's lost 2 pounds. Something is wrong. We should do some tests. So in the reverse, we can say, you know what, your cat is gaining 2 pounds a year. Let's look at how you're feeding. We might want to do something different. That series of looking at your cat's health year over year is really important. Also, preventative care. So there's a real importance to certain vaccines. For instance, the law requires that we give a rabies vaccine in the first year, and then every 3 years after that, depending on which vaccine you're using. But also, is your cat going to be going outside? Are you ever going to bring a stray cat in your house? Some people who think they don't need vaccines don't realize that day that you see that little kitten outside and decide you're going to bring them in, that could be a death sentence for the cat that you have inside. So we really want to talk to you about all of those things. Dewormer, feline heartworm prevention. What's your lifestyle like? What's the cat's lifestyle going to be like? And how do we build a great preventative care program for your cat that's going to suit your needs? So it's threefold. You may not know that your cat is sick, number one. So once a year is a great checkup for that. Number two is the serial care of your cat. And number three is finding that preventative health care plan that's going to work best for you.
Thank you. Good answer. Like a game show. Good answers. I get an A. You win a prize. I don't know what that is. Sally, back to statistics. I know that you're shocked by a lot of statistics, and that there's some more. But if there was one thing that really caught your attention more than anything else, what was that? Yep, it's the one right behind you, and the cat was even shocked by this one. So 9.6% of cats living in the U.S. will never see a veterinarian. Now I know that 9.6, you're thinking, well, that doesn't sound so bad. But it actually translates out to 9.4 million cats will never be seen by a vet. That statistic blew my mind. I was like, that's almost 10 million cats that will never see a vet. And why is that? You know, I can't even really wrap my arms around that one, other than the other statistics that go along with it, that 81% of cat owners say that their cats are self-sufficient. I'm not really sure what that means. We feed them, we scoop their litter boxes, we should be playing with them, we should be providing, I'm not sure if you have them in a basement or in a closet and it's coming out with different smells. Put something in that smells, treats in there. You can get them so that they're, a little bit happier in the carrier. I highly recommend leaving one out all the time. I just think it's great, especially in a case of an emergency then, they're much easier to get into the carrier. You can take your cat for car rides that don't end up in the
stress of everything that's going on with your cat. And you're really dealing with a stranger who doesn't know how to read you, you don't know them, and that can turn negative.
And maybe it goes back to the statistic of why cats don't return. If your first visit was that visit when they were sick and it was the way you're describing, maybe that's,
When everyone involved really does have the right intentions, that just only going.
I don't even like taking my cat to a different vet because my vet knows what my cat's normal is. So when one vet might be alarmed by something, my vet might say, oh, I know this is just how Kip is. You know what I mean? Or
feeling when you go somewhere regularly, and you should anyway, have a family feeling from that group that you're with. And if you don't, and you can get them out of pain. I've also had instances where the cat's just there for vaccines, everything's normal, and I do find a tumor. Or I do notice that they're a little more yellow than usual, and we do some blood work and there's a liver problem. Or it's a long-haired cat, and we say, did you know your cat's lost 3 pounds since last year? Maybe it's time for some blood work. So even a well cat that seems perfect, you may be doing them a great service by finding these small things out that are changing their life at the hospital, and sometimes it's life-altering.
I know that. So another one of my cats named Finnegan, I like adopting ones from shelters that are challenges, that are having a hard time getting home. And Finnegan was one of these cats, and nobody could get near him. And they asked if I would work with him a little bit. He got very socialized, but to me.
everybody else came in the gazebo and he would run around and nobody could pet him except me. So of course I adopted him, brought him home, and the first thing I did was bring him to the vet. And it was interesting because he would let me pet him back down by his tail, but he never wanted to be pet around the face. And everybody just assumed that he wasn't friendly, that he was fearful, and guess what it was? He had exposed roots, cracked teeth, terrible mouth. So as soon as he had 18 teeth pulled, you could touch all over his face. Now people come over and you can fully pet him. He wasn't unadoptable, he was in pain, but he was hiding it. He wasn't able to say, my mouth hurts, you know? So this is an incredibly happy cat that because he had a physical, he had an exam by a vet, completely different life.
Sometimes it's hard to know if it's a behavior problem or a medical problem, and a vet is the place to start.
I think we're a little over time, guys, so I wanted to say thank you for your time. And I don't know if we have time for questions, do we?
There's nobody up next.
Okay, there's no one up next.
So please feel free.
My first is more of a comment than a question, but for myself, I've had about 20 cats over the past 15 years, and one of the things I did early on was have vets teach me how to do things at home, so that there would be less drama and less anxiety when the cat might just have one little thing wrong. So I learned how to give subacute fluids, I can check hemoglobins, I can palpate the abdomen, I can express the bladder, check the ears, check the nose.
She's exceptional.
But it's because vet bills are so crazy high, first reason, and because it's so much stress getting a cat in. Sometimes vet has to throw a towel on the cat to get it to sit still long enough to give it an exam. Sometimes they have to tail the cat, drug the cat just to...
And that's changing.
Yes.
That's changing. So I encourage you to give vets another try.
Oh, I do. But I'm just saying, people think cat parents need to understand cat behavior more and work with their vets so the vets can educate them how to better care for their cats. Because I think people just, oh, the cat's self-sufficient, but it's really not. The cat is just, it's a loner and it wants to hide everything, and that relationship with the vet is so important to develop that relationship with your cat. My question is for you. The difference between what the titering antibody test will give you and what cell-mediated immunology results are. Can you please explain the difference?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is vaccine titers. So for some vaccines, we can check the blood of the cat and find out if their vaccine was at a protective level, so we don't need to revaccinate. So there's a lot of, it's really an emerging art, because a lot of those are supposed protective levels without challenges, so we don't know 100% if it's going to be protective or not protective, but it is a great jumping off point to again have those discussions. The reason that a lot of vets don't even bring it up is because of cost. So, like you said, that vet bill can be shocking. It's shocking to us too, but so was our tuition and the insurance. A lot of vets live below around poverty to be able to pay back their vet loans. They're graduating with $300,000 to $350,000 in loans. So the whole thing is shocking for everybody. But the bill, when you get it, is shocking. So a titer can cost maybe 6-8 times what the vaccine costs. So a lot of times that conversation isn't happening. So if it's something you're interested in, you should have that conversation with your veterinarian.
I just want to quick touch on something that we didn't touch on either. Pet insurance for cost. Because cost is one of the reasons why people don't go to the vet. So you can look into, there's wonderful options now, so many different levels, so many different companies, a lot more competition in the pet insurance industry, so rates are better. But if you are that person that can't afford that monthly nut because pet insurance is just too expensive, you know what you can do? Figure out what your budget is. If it's $5 a month, $10 a month, start your own pet insurance. Set money aside monthly. And that way, if something does come up that's not the annual wellness exam, something that's a little bit more costly, you have your own savings account. You know, so look into both. Look into the pet insurance, see if there's one that suits your needs, and if not, be smart and safe. I mean, I don't have children, so I have, you know, I'm not paying for 4 years of college. My college went to the 3 cats that had cancer. So, but we can do this. We can give you, ways that get past these perceived hurdles, for sure.
And the time to start is before your pet's sick. As soon as you get them, when they're a kid, when you bring them home from the shelter, it's very similar to human insurance. If you have a pre-existing condition, like when you get that estimate for $800, you're not getting insurance. So that's a start now.
And the younger they are, the less expensive it is too. Do they have a question, I think?
Can you?
Closer, yeah.
I'm moving to Florida in the near future, no set date. I have 7 cats that I care for. They were all strays. They've all come in now. The first question is, what's the least stressful way for me to transport them? And the other question is, I have one that although I've been feeding him for years, he's still feral. He still won't let me near him. He is trap savvy. He was trapped once, he's not doing it again. How do I get him to be able to transport him?
They're tough ones. We might have to tag team this. I'll speak from the veterinary side. That if you're going to fly, and
I'm not flying.
You're driving. You want to get them all up to date on the vaccines to transport them. There is some crossing state. I don't know about Florida because I don't practice there, but get them health checked. Also, you're not going to be able to get medication from a veterinarian if some of them need it. If you don't have that, we call it a client-veterinary relationship. So we have to see that cat and examine it to make sure that medicine is safe for that cat. So that's where you want to start. But what do you think? Carrier training will be a good time.
So are you able to transport them all together? I mean, if you're driving that far, you need to have them safe. They need to be in carriers, and you need to have carriers that have a size that have a litter box available in them. You can put a small box in them.
I was actually thinking small crates for them as opposed to carriers.
Yeah, the small crates are fine too, because the risk is you don't want them to get free on the drive. So if you need to take breaks and stuff, you want them safe in the car. You don't want them free roaming. So large carriers, small crate, litter box, bedding, that's what you want. And I would cover them all. I'd have them all in either covered carriers or blankets over all of them to try to keep the stress levels lower. You can look into some calming treats, some hemp. It might be better to use like an oil or something versus giving them food before the drive. So you can give them their meal before, an hour before or so, and put some hemp CBDs, calming, any of those to try to help with the ride. Or have a conversation with your vet about maybe gabapentin or something like that if any of them are too stressed in the car. As far as the trapping, I mean, if you're not have you talked to any of the rescue groups to try different techniques for trapping, different traps, different foods, different...
I'm TNR certified.
You are.
So,
it's hard when cats are trap savvy.
I tried to get him recently because he's got a lump on his leg. I can't even get him to a vet. And whereas before...
So he won't even enter the trap. Have you tried fried?
He won't even come within... It was 5 feet of me now since I tried to get him.
And I'm assuming that don't feed for 24 hours, make sure he's really hungry, maybe go longer even. I mean, the cat will be fine. I don't know if anybody else is feeding him too. I know a lot of people have great luck if you try literally Kentucky Fried Chicken. For some reason, fried chicken seems the most tempting thing in traps, and I'm not really sure why.
I totally get it.
So,
I go in the trap for that.
Yeah, there's something about the greasy fried chicken that seems to really make it
It's really
more,
strong
yeah,
smell.
really, really tempting. Like maybe it's because it's hot when you're putting it in, but a lot of TNR friends of mine have really good luck with fried chicken.
I would go back to your house cats though. Whatever you decide on, I would get them as soon as you can. Get the bedding that you're going to travel with as soon as you can, and leave it out in the house. And you can try even going for practice runs. And then go back to your slide. Load everybody up and go out around the block. It's going to be a huge pain in the neck for you, but it will make their travel better if they gradually get exposed to it.
But
So
I concur 100%. Whatever goes into the crates, have it be something that they've loved on for a while, for sure.
I'm also considering
Toys
now
in there.
hiring a transporting company. Are you familiar with that?
I don't have a lot of experience in that arena, so I
If you
can't
look
really advise
into it,
it.
get references.
Yeah, if it
For
was
sure.
me,
Bonded, licensed,
in my car.
insured.
Well, it's complicated. I have 2 dogs and they have to have separated. Unless they
It's
want to
really
eat
hard.
cats.
It's hard. It's hard.
You just have to do the best you can, and if you're going to go that route, bonded, licensed, insured, and personal references, and don't just look at the references, call the references. Speak to them. Absolutely.
It can be a little scary.
I wish you luck.
My cat was recently diagnosed with the beginning stages of chronic kidney disease, and I already give her some continuous fluids at home. And the vet, I talked to the vet about like a specialty diet, and he recommended health brand kidney disease. And but I hear mixed reviews about that brand of chocolate. What's your opinion?
So, in particular with kidney disease, the ratios of proteins and potassium, phosphorus can really be life-changing and life-extending for them. So, I recommend a veterinary prescription cat food for kidney disease. There's a lot of different companies that are doing that. Hills is certainly one of them. I'm a big fan of Royal Canin. Check out the Royal
I am
Canin
as
brand.
well.
And Purina makes a veterinary brand too. So there are options. Royal Canin's my favorite.
And I know it's difficult, and there's a huge discussion that can happen on nutrition and people talking about, raw and this. I have a cat with cancer, and he's on a prescription diet, and I work with a nutritionist, and I said, are there other options? This is a cat with cancer. I want to be making sure he's getting the best, cleanest food possible. And she said, do not stray from the prescription diet. So, and I'm a big fan of the Royal Canin, all my cats.
The science and the balance, particularly for kidney disease with the prescription diet, is really important. And your cat might do great with that food and those fluids for a long time.
Do we have any other questions? Don't be afraid. There is no bad question. No more about cats. All right, well, thank you everybody so much for coming and listening to the Cat Advocates. We really appreciate it. For everybody out there watching us live, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful time the rest of Pet Expo.